Hello, folks. Happy weekend and welcome to the Gallant Few Rangers podcast. My name's Colin McDuff, and it's been long overdue that we get a Saturday catch up with the one of the main men, the fans' favourite, the Michael Moles of the pod, cult hero, Mason. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Colin. Michael Miles, I'll take that all day long. No, it's good to be back on, mate. It's been a while, and I'm hoping we're a lot more optimistic. I think than the last time we was on at the end of Clement's reign. I think it was a couple of weeks before he got a boot. So, no, definitely looking forward to the new season, and it's always good to be back.
Yeah, obviously, both of us had a bit of a hiatus in the pod over the last few months. We kind of get away with the listeners saying that we just shat ourselves because Rangers became shit. Um, I mean, you've got a bit more of a better excuse than me, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it was a build up of a good few years that though, Colin, wasn't it? To be fair, it wasn't like it was 6 or 7 months of bad football and bad results. So who can blame us for that?
Yeah, but obviously, yeah, you've got a solid reason for being off. So, just on behalf of all the Gallant View podders and the listeners, congratulations on the birth of your baby boy Cooper. How is Rangers Star life settling in?
No, thank you, mate. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah, it's good. After 6 weeks, you finally get some sleep, so it's nice after that. But no, it's brilliant. Nice. It's one, yeah, best thing in the world.
Yeah, listeners will all be chuffed with his name, obviously. And the one big question they'll all have is obvious, and I'll confirm yes, Cooper will be a West Ham fan when he was.
It was funny the other day that my wife Lucy, yeah, she's West Ham, but someone made a comment about him being named after Davy Cooper, and I've never seen her head turn around so quick, and she nearly had a heart attack. But yeah, no. But it's too late. He's named it now. So.
That's it. It's on the birth certificate. That's him until he's at least 18. But no, I'm glad you were saying the wee man are settling in well, mate. So the last few weeks on the pod, it's been interesting. So as we've been chatting through the first couple of weeks in June, we were probably all in panic stations. Myself, maybe no Jack. Jack is just a beacon of optimism. But James and Davey were probably a wee bit nervous on nothing really was happening, and then there was like 3-4 weeks in a row with just new signing after new signing. So we've had a couple of friendlies under our belt, some behind closed doors. Had the Club Brugge one as well, and it's all leading to Panathinaikos on Tuesday. So all in all, how's this summer been for you up to this point in the Rangers sense and how we're building?
Yeah, I was a little bit like Davey T. I did watch a pod a few weeks ago where Davey T was getting very, very worried about our lack of movement in the transfer market, and I was feeling quite the same, to be honest. But we've obviously done a lot of business over the last couple of weeks. We've still got a lot of business to do, in my opinion, but it makes it extremely difficult where these games are so early. Players are just starting to go back sort of to training down here, and also the amount that we've got to do, and no one's left yet. I think a lot of the support forget that our wage bill is huge again because of the players that have returned on loan last season. None of them have left yet. So I actually think, I'm sure we'll come and touch on it, but I think that's one of the reasons why Connor Cody's not here yet. I think Proper and Davis need to be moved on before he's brought in, because we just simply can't keep adding. PSR is obviously one of the big issues, but I'm optimistic, mate. I'm optimistic. I won't lie to you. I wasn't in the Martin camp at all just before he was announced, but he's here. Give him a chance. I think every time I've listened to him on Rangers TV, I've been really impressed. He's saying the right things. So look, get behind him, and I wanted Van Bronckhorst, I wanted Clement, so they both went wrong in the end. So maybe a manager coming in who I don't want is the way we go.
There is something to be said about football fans don't always know what's best for them. It's the amount of bad calls we've all given over the last couple of years, and they're all recorded. You can go back into the archives. There's been shockers. I mean, just that fall thread about Kevin Nisbet that I started still keeps me up at night. I mean, it's part and parcel of being a football fan. You lead with your heart and your gut, but it's sometimes you're glad that the board don't listen to his.
Well, that's the problem, though, Colin. I think they have. I think they have listened to us in recent years. If you, I think there was a poll I see on Twitter, and there was 3 managers at the time. I can't remember the other 2 now, but Gerard would have been one of them. And I think Martin was 4%, and there was like 800 or 900 votes. Now I know that's not the whole range of support, but Martin to get 4% out of 900 supporters voting at that point, I think the board are not this board are not going to listen to the support. They're going to go with what they think is right, and it is quite nice to know that the interview process Martin went through was really rigorous, because I think in previous years it's been a case of 2 or 3 meetings, and it's like, right, because they already know who the favourite is. So I think that's good to hear, and a good starting point as well.
It's funny, like obviously these polls aren't an exact science, but whether it was on follow, Twitter, Facebook, or even like the sense we get for the listeners on the live streams, they, I like Russell Martin was well below the pecking order for a lot of people, and even behind David Ancelotti. Now, see if you take that in a black and white sense, take the emotion in the club out of it. You've got a manager who has had, you know, a decent track record of developing young players and getting teams to punch above their weight. He's got a team promoted for the Championship into the Premiership versus somebody who's only been an assistant and has a famous star. Like the facts tell you all day long who you should go with. But what I do think, and this isn't me gaslighting MD, by the way, like before I finish this point, I do think it just speaks to how desperate Rangers fans were for something different, which I don't think anybody can blame us for. We wanted something radically different because the last few managers, you could see the rationale behind where they were going, and it didn't work out. Van Bronckhorst and Clermont had won things abroad, didn't necessarily turn into success. So I can see why Rangers fans were looking at last time we went for a proper gamble with Steven Gerrard, and it eventually worked longer than we hoped. So, like the longer like it goes on and we've got time to think about it, I don't think it's that mental that we were wanting to go for I'm not saying every Rangers fan wanted David Ancelotti, but I could see why there was a bit of hype for him.
Yeah, I can. Do you know what the big one is, Colin? I actually said it at the end of last season. Is we've been a really poor coach team. If you watch some of the best teams in Europe, and even some of the smaller nations that are competing really well in Europe, especially in the Champions League last season, they're really well coached. And the last time we were was under Gerrard, in all honesty, but it did take a while for us to get to that point, and that's why I can understand why this head coach role's in there. Apparently, Martin is an excellent coach. I actually spoke to someone, Rangers supporter that plays. I won't embarrass him and know his name, but he plays, and he was coached by Russell Martin. And I spoke to him just before Martin got the job, and I actually said to him, mate, I'm a little bit worried about this. See the Southampton team plenty last season, and yeah, I didn't like it at all. And he just said to me, mate, he's an unbelievable coach. Like he's proper. He was actually really excited by him. We had a good conversation, and I just thought at that point, that's when I thought, yeah, we do need someone that tactically is gonna be able to just get us playing in a certain way. And that's why I can understand, obviously, as you just said about Ancelotti. I'm glad we've gone with Martin at the 2 now, but yeah, that's why I can understand that the Ancelotti link was there at the time.
And what I will say about Martin is, it's funny, since he's been appointed, more and more interviews from the last year resurface or snippets, say when he's done the media work or whatever, and I do think we need to remember I think a big problem people hadn't accidentally had was Southampton last year played the same way as they did in the Championship, pretty much. And any listeners of the Premier League pod will know we both find that very arrogant. There's only very few clubs in the world who have the autonomy to do that. Real Madrid, Liverpool, maybe Bayern Munich, right? Every club bar the select, and even those select few can only do it maybe one season out of 5, but everybody has to adapt. So that was what I was worried about. But I find we need to remember he is still a young coach and he will be learning. What he'd done at Southampton was different from what he'd done at his previous clubs. What I really like is how honest he's been about the mistakes he made at Southampton. And
Definitely.
leading into this transfer window, I liked his snippet from Sky Sports when he was doing like Monday Night Football about how if he was to do it all again in Southampton in the Premier League, he would have got the aggression, the dirty players, the dark hearts. That's what the team lacked. Music to my ears.
100%, Colin. I'm a little bit surprised. I'll kind of let him off the hook there. That he did go into the Premier League a little bit sort of naive with that though, because we all know how physical and how quick that is. And if you look at the transfers he made sort of last season, there was a lot of young. He did make some. Yeah, they've got some good young players at Southampton. So they sort of went down that route. But yeah, that was music. That was one of. I did watch that Monday Night Football. That what you're talking. I watched the whole show he was on, and apart from wearing green that night, I thought he come across really well. But that was the main snippet that I took on in the physicality, and he did say that his next side he needs to really get the ownership on that, and that's why we've seen some of the signings, already. They have all got that. So that is something that yeah, and he even said to make us look better. And I know just on the eye that people go, well, what do you mean just look better? But we've been a small side for years. The last time I think we were physically was the year we got to the Europa League final. And you see us then, and I remember I was up for the game against Celtic, where the Hollander game, and we had, I remember really close up, and I remember seeing both sides, and I remember thinking we're quite a big, powerful side, and we've come away from that completely after the Europa League, which is frustrating. We spoke about that a million times, but if we're getting back to them levels, I think that's an excellent start.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we had in abundance was the fitness first, which could be backed up by players who could play. And like we have been over it a million times, but the headline that I took for that season is anytime Rangers go into extra time, our chances improved because we knew we were fitter than the other team. We might not have been the better football side, but we were the fitter team. So just on the signings then, so if I kind of run through the headlines, we've got Lyle Cameron for Dundee, we've got Jiga and Aaron's on loan for Wolves and Bournemouth. Then we've got Asgard for Luton, Fernandez for Peterborough, Gassama for Sheffield Wednesday, and Joe Rothwell for Bournemouth, but he was playing with Leeds last season. So all bottom end of the Premier League Championship or top end of League One. It's probably fair to say that this splits opinion with the fan base, saying like, "Oh, we like them in a business." We've been doing a lot of people saying that we need to stop shopping in the English market. I'll stick my tuppence worth in here the now. We aren't in a position to exclude any market. We need to go and get value. I think it's a bit of a red herring that we don't get success for the English market. People will look at your Jordan Rossiter and your Emmanuel Offerbor, but we won't think about Connor Golston, James Tavernier, John Lundstrom, Joe Aribo. I think it's a bit of one. We signed Alan McGregor back for the English market. I think we have had more success for the English market than Duds.
That's fair. I think it was one that I spoke to someone. I think last time I was on the pod, actually, someone was on and said, "I don't want us to use English market at all." And I thought, we can't just rule it out because we've made terrible signings. It does feel very different this year, though, Colin. I think than signing players like you just said Jordan Rossiter, Kieran Dowell. It's very. I think this year's different because if you look at Asgard and Gassama, for instance, really good ages, and Luton fans gutted to lose him, a young player. Some Luton fans, most Luton fans saying their best young talent. Let's not forget they were in the Premier League 2 years ago, and not many teams would have been able to spend $4 million in January on him. Obviously, they ended up going down, but that was why that sell. And then Sheffield Wednesday, we took advantage of how financially unstable they are, and feel for their support in a minute because they're a little bit unsure. But we've took advantage on that, and their fans seem certain that if it was normal times and they was run properly, it'd be going for 8 to 10 million. I can't remember, in recent years, us going down to England and signing a player, and their fans being gutted about it. And I remember Jack Simpson, he was another one. Former fans were. I think most of the time I checked a player we signed from England under Van Bronckhorst, and then even Clement, and I just don't remember their fans being too bothered. Joe Ruffell was another one, obviously.
Oh, you've muted yourself.
Sorry. Leeds are going in a different direction, so they're financially able to go and get different players. But Southampton fans as well, and Leeds fans on last season about Joe Ruffell were just like, and it actually surprised me really because I've seen his name quite a few times, but not really paid much attention. I know we was after him a couple of years ago, and then you go and watch. There's a YouTube. I know you shouldn't do that with every player we sign, but he does look quite powerful and he can drive with the ball. And again, it's just nice to hear. I always look at the fan reaction because I know what we're like as a supporter and player leagues. And I know it's not the gospel, but I think you get a good vibe of that. And apart from Emmanuel Fernandez, I think everyone's been gutted to lose the players they've lost.
Yeah, the biggest, you've kind of sent my mind spiralling when you mentioned Jack Simpson there, somebody who I completely erased from memory. He's going to be a great Rangers pub quiz question in 5 years' time. But, you're I don't know, I don't want to make the mistake I make every summer window of just being naive and letting the emotional roller coaster take on me because I feel optimistic every summer. But having said that, it feels like all of these signings make sense. That's while in the past couple of years there's been signings that might have been exciting, but we didn't quite see the sense in it. There's either a gap in the squad or a significant need for improvement in these positions that we've that we've signed. So just quickly, off the top of my head, we've replaced Tom Lawrence with Joe Rothwell. We've replaced Hadji with Asgard, Cherny with Gassama, Balogun and Fernandez and Jigger. So obviously two different Fernandez, and then guys like Max Aarons and go I'd imagine they'll be the replacement for Dujon Sterling, and so you can see we might not have got rid of these players now that we need to replace, but you can see it's good to see the replacement coming in already. Is there I know there's a separate conversation about trying to offload players, and I think that some of these players will be here right up until the 31st of August because it's likely going to be the English market that takes them. That is traditionally much slower than Scotland getting going. Is there any problem areas for the squad that you see right now? And I need to caveat all this with we don't know how these signings are going to be. So your answer today might be different in 4 weeks' time. But off the back of it, what do we need to bring in, do you think?
I still think we're 2 or 3 quality signings, and I hope they're going to come later in the window. And it might mean a sale of Igamani, definitely Dessers, and even Raskin. And I know that's popular. I'd love him to stay. But if we get a bid anywhere near 20 million, we've got to take it. We can't make mistakes of the past. And then I'm hoping that will get reinvested and we can go and get 2, 3 quality players because I think that's lacking at the moment in the squad. I think we're building a good squad. You can see he's not just concentrating on the 11. He's trying to get a squad together. But if you actually look at it right now, I think we're missing still another centre-half. I think we're missing another right winger. a quality right winger, because Gassama is best on the left. So that's one. And then I still think we're missing a quality number 9. And it's clear from the club that they won't get a number 9 in until we move on Dessers or Rigamani. Danilo's not going anywhere. No one's going to come in for him because of his injury record. And hopefully, I've said it a million times on this podcast, hopefully he can stay fit and we can see Danilo get a lot more minutes. But I still think they're the 3 positions I'm looking at right now. I'm hoping that, okay, Cody is one. I think that we will get. I think that will happen. I just think it will happen later in the window. If you're asking me sort of what I feel about Cody, I'm not. I can understand why. For his leadership qualities, I'd be worried about physicality and his pace. That would worry me about Cody, if I'm being sort of brutally honest. Great footballer, really good on the ball, great leader, great in the dressing room. But it's just when we, you know what it's like. We get a centre half and a ball gets put down the side, away at Aberdeen, Hearts, things like that. I would worry a little bit about Cody, so I'll be interested in that one. But definitely a right wing and a striker. If we can get, them real quality in them areas, I think we're okay in the midfield at the moment. If no one goes, but again, you always want more. But it's just how realistic we can be about the amount coming in this window. He's not going to be able to do it all in one window.
Yeah, that's the point. And this is the trouble we get every year, where we try and do 3-4 transfer windows worth of work in the one window, and we just end up wasting a lot of money. So it won't be perfect, and we won't get rid of all these players we need to get ready in the one window. On the centre half, I think that's a big one for me. So we've added Jigga Fernandez. We've already got Suter there as a viable option. Proper, King aren't going to be the answers. And Martin's already said Nsiala will go out in some capacity, hopefully alone. I do like the look of Nsiala, but hopefully it's just a loan and he does come back. But we do lack a leader. If there's question marks over whether John Suter can be that leader. I think it's been. I do kind of like John Suter, but he's been too inconsistent. He's not done it often enough for me to really be able to bang that drum. So we were able to move him on and bring in a more experienced centre half to help ease in Jigga Fernandez. I can see maybe James Tavernier playing a bit at centre half this year as well. So I totally agree with you in the centre half there. The right winger and the centre forwards is a bit more tricky because we've got Gassama who plays in the left, better in the left but can't play in the right. We also have Oscar Cortez and Kieran Dowell, who both featured in the pre-season. And there's a bit of chat that instead of wingers, we might be playing at times 2 number 10s, inverted wingers that Gerrard and Bale liked. So do you think Martin might think he has the answer to that right wing problem already in the squad?
Well, if you watch, I think at the moment, Asgard would be the one that goes and plays out on the left with what we've got at the minute. And I think that Gassama would then go and play out on the right. I think that would, in my opinion, that would be what he'd go to. But I don't think that's going to be a long-term thing. I think watching Southampton last season and then, watching a little bit of his Swansea team and Southampton the champ before that, he likes his wingers high and wide. So I think Asgard would fill a hole, and obviously, it looks like he's going to miss the game on Tuesday, which I'm gutted about because all the noises that I've heard about pre-season so far, he's been the one that's really impressed, and it's just our luck, isn't it, that we hear it every pre-season. Someone starts really well and then they're injured and they're out, but hopefully it's not too long. But I think there's going to be a plan, Colin. I think there's going to be, you still hear that we're after 2 more wingers. So I don't think he's going to put square pegs in round holes. I think he really wants to get wingers. He's going after pace, really direct, which is really encouraging. But I think for me, it's clear enough to know that for these Panathinaikos games, he's going to have to just go with what he's got, and he might, unfortunately, we might see a Kieran Dowell because that's where we're at in this stage of pre-season. and just we've just got to hope that we're ready and we've got enough to get through this tie.
So before we look at Panathinaikos, I just want to play devil's dick advocate on the number 9, right?
Yep.
So I think we only bring someone else in if Dessers or Igamani go. We don't have the perfect solution at number 9 right now, but I think there's potential for us to not get by. There's potential for it to work. It's a bit of a gamble, like so. Dessers, I'll argue to death with anybody. He's the perfect second striker coming off the bench. He's inconsistent, yes, but he will get you goals. He will add value. We've just over relied on him far too much. Igamani is raw. We know he's got to turn into a very decent player. The question mark is, will he improve enough this season and be what we need him to be the main number 9? Danilo is a big bit of the Jordan Rossiters and Red Van Yilmaz is about him where when he plays, you can see right he is a cut above the other players in that position, but he's just been far too inconsistent with reliability. No, all his fault. It's never is the player's fault. I'd say. But it doesn't take away the problem. So, do you think that these the ifs and buts and maybes are enough for this season, or is it just is it the problem area?
I think, do you know what, I've missed out, Colin? Left back as well, by the way, which we can come on to it in a minute. Okay. I think that's a big area. I still think it's a problem. Yeah, I still don't think with them 3 strikers, it's personally I don't think it's good enough to win a league. I think that you make a really good point there about Igamani. I think he is really raw still, but interestingly, I'm not sure how he fits into Martin's system. If you watch Martin's number 9, it's a big, powerful runner. He likes a runner, someone that's going to sort of hold the ball and get up, which we've seen Igamani do, but Igamani can go and do his own thing for too long in games for me. He wants to try and nutmeg people. He wants to hold on the ball for a little bit too long. And you need someone to coach it out of it, and I'm hoping Martin can. I just don't know. I'm not sure on that. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player, great option to have, just to actually lead the line and be that man. And then Dessers, I think I'm not a fan. I can't argue with his numbers. I can't argue with them. They're 50 goals in 2 seasons is nuts that I'm even saying that. But it's just his whole round game for me is so poor. I think his first touch, when we're under pressure, to get us up the pitch, I don't think it's good enough. I don't think he's strong enough. He spends too much time arguing with defenders and I just think he's kind of let us down at times as well, because of there's been games where he hasn't touched the ball, and every time it went forward to him, it comes straight back. We're under pressure. So I think at his age, we've made the mistake in keeping the players too long, and his wages. I think he needs to go. We need to cash in. If we can get anywhere near £4 or £5 million, I think that's a great deal, considering his age. That might sound harsh to some, because I know he has got a lot of people that want to keep him in the support. I just think them wages to be a second string striker, them days need to go. We need to get younger, more powerful players that have got resale value if they're going to be second string for me.
Yeah, I do agree with that. That's a problem Martin and the new board have inherited. So going forward, we can't do that. But I think we need to play with the cards we've got right now. It's so weird with Dessers, because both these statements are true. He's let us down time and time again, and he's pulled us out a hole time and time again. He is the enigma, and that's why we can't rely on him being the main man, number 9. Whether you like him or not, I don't think anybody's will argue he's the main man. Like, I think the argument is, like, can he add like value to the squad over a season? For me, I think he can. But yeah, I think our hopes really are in Igamani, because he's he's less of the gamble than Danilo. Danilo has the talent. Or his confidence might be absolutely shot, but until he can play regularly, he's always got to be the gamble. Igamani, I know what you mean. He does like to be a bit of a maverick. Maybe with a stronger coaching team, he can do it. So I can see why you're worried there. And I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, but I think the forward line is more likely to work as it is than the left back area, the centre back area, the right
Oh
wing
yeah,
area, just because there's potential for that to work. Whereas I'm not really seeing. Let's go to the left backs actually. Obviously, this time last year we were told about JFT will be the next Brazil captain at the next World Cup, and probably playing for Chelsea or Real Madrid in 2027. I don't want to write him off too much. He does show signs. What really annoys me, he just ball watches.
yeah.
Right, it's not poor decision making as such. It's just he gets caught. Like he may as well be in the fucking Broomlow in front with it. You know what I mean? He just switches off far too often, and we've seen that at the start of last season. I would have expected for that to happen less as the season goes on, but it probably happened more. That's my worry about him. Yilmaz, I've said time and time again, where he's a good player, unreliable in terms of staying fit. Put Dujon Sterling in that camp as well, so both of them need to be punted. JFT, I could see the rationale maybe keeping him, but ultimately, long story short, I would like another left back in.
I think yeah, it's a must. Yeah, I think it's a must. There's obviously other areas of the team you're looking at, but left back's been a problem area for us since Bassi left. I've said it time and time again in this pod. I just still can't believe that we replaced Yilmaz. We spent that money on Yilmaz for replacing a powerhouse like Bassi. It's just I don't know what the board were thinking and the recruitment team at that point. And yeah, I like that Martin's gone in there and he's just been like, no. He said he watched a lot of games from last season. I can see that with NCR, he's another one as well. That just needs. If it's a loan or I just don't see it working for us. The physicality for me and that aggression, I'm not sure NCR's got it. And it's the same with Yilmaz. Never mind being robust enough. So good to hear that he wants to move him out. Jeff D, if I'm being honest, I don't want to write him off. There is potential there. He's athletic. He's quick. He's strong. I don't think you can coach that, what we're talking about at this level, that switching off. I don't think you can coach it. I think you've rather got that. There was a game last season, I think it was Aberdeen towards the end of the season, and I was watching, it was on Sky. I remember Ferguson, first 10 minutes going absolutely mental here. I don't know if you see it. Because he just switches off. There was a ball, I think, went under his foot. He switches off at the back post, and that was all in the space of a couple of minutes. And it's just, I'm not sure. I'm just not. I can understand people that are like, no, he's got to give him a chance. It's only been a season. I can't remember a player. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colin. Can't remember a player cost us so many goals in a season just by switching off and making really poor decisions defensively.
I mean, I think Borna Barisic and James Tavernier might. As much as I love James Tavernier, and I know we've tried to be dragged into a public spat about Tav, but that's a fucking that's what you've missed, man. We've got a new frenemy. Fuck knows what that's all about. But anyway, as much as I love James Tavernier, he is prone to a ball comes into the back post. He's like, I'm going to see where it goes before I fucking do anything. Borna Barisic was the same. I wonder, are we maybe a bit harsher in Jeffy? Because with Barisic and Tavernier, they were more effective going forward. Jeffy's not quite there. He's got a good. He does the odd dart and run, whereas James Tavernier could do it consistently, and Barisic, hard push to find anybody who can deliver a ball better than Borna Barisic at his peak. Jeffy were not quite getting that. No, what that outweighs the mistakes he makes.
You're spot on there. That's what it is for me. That's what it is, and yeah, trust me, I was born a Barisic's worst fan, and I couldn't wait for him to leave. I actually think Jeffy's defensively is worse, and that was what would get Borna out of trouble in his good years. He could provide quality. I think his delivery was the best in the league for 2-3 seasons. With that left foot, and I think you've seen it with Tavernier that for the years that defensively, yeah, he's never been great, but you can't argue his numbers going forward. With Jeffy, you're right, one cross every 6-7 are decent. The amount of times it goes in the stand, never beats the first man. And again, he's really young. I don't want to just keep bashing him, but if we want to be successful now, I think that's why you're going to see Max Aarons as left back Tuesday night. That is a big signal for me that the manager doesn't trust Jeffy, and we will, if we can move other players out, we will go and get another left back that I think will come in, because I don't think Max Aarons is coming up here to play left back. I think that's just, he's looked at it and said defensively Max Aarons is very good, and that's why he's going to be playing there Tuesday night. So that would be a big signal for me that we're going to be in the market for a left back to come in, and maybe that's what Jeffy needs. The big point with last season with Jeffy is he played far too many games. Far too many games. He weren't meant to play the 50 games last season. I bet that wasn't the plan for him. It's just that Yilmaz is always injured and he's had to. So if he can play 20, 25 games, that might help him, as I said, and especially if he's got a left back in there that's consistently solid, it's going to raise his game. So, yeah, you're right. Don't want to write him off. I'm just unsure. I'm unsure if he can ever defensively get that out of him. But we'll see. We'll see. He's still very young.
He's 21, younger than Idemani. Idemani looks like a bit of a house in his very own. I know it's different positions and like apples and oranges here, but there's some games Idemani was absolutely shocking. Idemani played less than Jeffy last year. For two players roughly at the same stage in their development, you're spot on there. And that's been an issue time and time again over the last few years. Rangers over-rely on players who shouldn't be playing that amount of games, or they aren't good enough, or they can just, stop gaps or development players. We turn into first team players when they shouldn't be. That's the issue.
We've been so bad at it. You can go through the years. I look at last summer, and how we started the season, and I know there was a lot of things. I don't want to just blame Clement here. By the way, there was so much going on in the background. Not playing at Ibrox, not really. We weren't able to. We didn't get any fees for players leaving. So the players we brought in were smaller wages and not big transfer fees. But I still can't just think for last summer, just going back to it, like not signing an experienced midfielder to help the likes of Conor Barron. Mohamed Diamande is still only 23. Nico Raskin's still only 23. So I still look at that last season. Who's going to be the leader in that midfield? And you could see that throughout the season last year, that at times they're running around like headless chickens and there's no one really there to settle it. And obviously we've seen Martin come in this summer, very different, I know, behind the scenes, but with Joe Rothwell, you're going to get that. You're going to get that experience, and you should be able to help the likes of, Barron, Rice, Diamande and Raskin, because I think as much as we want Raskin to be the main man and be the leader, I still think he needs a lieutenant next to him to kind of help him. And Martin's nailed it about him and Diamande. They've done too much work. So when they get the ball, they're absolutely knackered. And I think that's spot on. If you watch that Atletico game last, the away leg, that's absolutely spot on. They're running about trying to get the ball. When they get the ball, it's like, what now? Do you know what I mean? So that's really, really good to hear in that area. And yeah, I'll put Conor Barron in that one last season. Played a lot more minutes than he probably should have. And I think the team looked worse. Don't want to just blame him, but him and Jeffy in certain games, they looked a little bit lost. And that's just where they are in their development.
Yeah, and this time last year, there was that question mark on should we even be keeping Raskin, because he didn't do much at all under Beale. We need to remember that, and he got off to a shaky start under Clement. There's evidence in what you're saying. right back for like when we've been watching Rangers. Barry Ferguson doesn't have that season he has without the likes of Ronald De Boer or Fernando
Oh,
Rickson, like next to him. Steve Davis, his first time around, doesn't he? He was the best midfielder we had, but the likes of Pedro Mendes and Barry Ferguson alongside him to coach him through. Even more recently, Steve Davis being that wise old figurehead allowed Glenn Kamara and Ryan Jack to go and be, and Joe Aribo to go and be the talented players they are. It's, we don't need to sign a main man to be the best player. We need to sign that main man figurehead to allow the other players to go be their best. I think if we maybe signed Juan Jordan last year, we might have seen that. I know
yeah,
that was, or someday of that out. The problem is we didn't get it, and we didn't have a plan B, C, or D, or we didn't get anybody. So hopefully Joe Rothwell does help these players, elevate their ability on the pitch. Let's jump on to Tuesday then. Just like kind of area by area, like I'll run through what I see happening, see if there's any major disagreement. So, but I think it will be a back four.
Do you know what we ain't touched on? Goalkeeper.
Well, funny you should say that because starting with the defence, I can't see any reality where Jack Butland doesn't start on Tuesday night. I know we've been linked with goalkeepers. I can't see us being able to move Jack Butland on.
No, I agree.
And I think without him moving on, we don't get a new number one because even if we do move on Liam Kelly, we won't be able to justify the wages. I don't think to go and bring in two high earners. So I would like an improvement on the goalkeeping front in terms of list of priorities. It's down the bottom for me.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I kind of get that in terms of if you're looking at left back, right wing. Yeah, I would kind of agree. I do think it's really important, but I think there's no point in discussion until if we can move Jack Butland on. As you've just said there, wages wise, again, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard he's one of the top two earners at the club. So unless we can shift that and then reuse it, I think it's going to be him or Kelly. I did shame because I did like the link with the Brighton goalkeeper Rushborough. He's the keeper, but he's going Coventry now, and I think that's simply because Brighton are going to look at it and say, well, you've got two international goalkeepers sitting there in Kelly and Butland. What's the guarantee that Rushborough's going to come up here and play? So I can understand that. I think I'd make you right there on the list of priorities.
Did you see Josh Windass interview in Open Goal? He was
Yeah,
talking about
Charles
that boy,
Pierce.
is it Charles Pierce, and he could play fucking centre mid. I don't know how good his ability is with his hands, but it really suits into that style of play that Martin likes to play it for the back. That's my worry. Most of all with Butland and Kelly, like yes, they're inconsistent and they make a couple of errors, but neither are natural ball playing goalkeepers. So that is my worry. Most of all, if we're going to ask them to be doing that more often, that will lead to more mistakes.
That does give me the fear a little bit, because if you watch Southampton last season, especially I was watching Ramsdale. That was a big reason why they got Ramsdale. And he is very good. He's probably, he's much better with the ball at his feet than he is actually with his hands, which is the modern goalkeeper. I am worried a little bit like that because we've seen Butler make mistakes under Clement trying to play out from the back. Never mind the risky passes that it'll be with Martin. So it's just where we're at in terms of transfer budgets, wages, etc. That would be we don't. I think Martin will be looking, and I do like the link to Charles Pierce. Only 19, though, and is 19 too young to come in and be a Rangers number one? That's another question. But he's someone that I think if you don't snap up soon, he'll be gone by the bigger clubs in a few years. Yeah.
Just quickly while we're on the subject, Josh Windass coming back to Rangers, that chat can get so far in the fucking bin. That should go in the same camp as the Sydney Old Firm Friendly. We need to stop looking. I don't mind looking back at players, right, who who were clear successes for us, and like obviously it's you give you should be chewing your right arm off to try and get them back. But
Yeah,
far too often we look at players who were mediocre for us, and people keep on going back to that 19 goals. Was it Josh Windass got
yeah,
19 goals when we were like we nearly finished third, and he did like yes he got us out the he got his goals in some games, but he drifted in and out of games and. He didn't do it often enough. He was bang average. He's done decent at Sheffield Wednesday, but nowhere near sitting ahead of the league. I don't know why there's such clamour to look back at bang average players.
honestly, I can't. I have to sometimes just come off X and just be like, I can't read this anymore because, yeah,
Oh, you're such a da now. You call it X and not Twitter. Jesus.
And Joe Aribo is another one as well that I've seen Southampton want to sit, and people are like, get him back. And I'm just like, no, just stop living in the past. He was good for us at that point. He wanted to leave. He didn't want to live in Scotland anymore. And why would he want to? Do you know what I mean? And also, why would we want to go and get a player that's probably we've had his best days? So same with Windass. He's 31. Like, come on now. Like, look at the teams with nothing, but look at the teams linked with Windass. That kind of tells me where that's at. We should be steering clear. So yeah, bonkers. Honestly, bonkers.
So on Tuesday then, I do see it being Butland, Tavernier and Aaron's right back and left back, and I think it will be Suter and Jigger at centre halves. Any objections there?
No, I think you're spot on there. Yeah, I think that'll be it. I still think John Suter's our best centre half. Obviously, we haven't seen Jigger at all, so that will be one that'll be interesting. So yeah, I think that picks itself. You've seen as well the team sheet get leaked from the other day against Dunfermline where Aaron's plays left back. So I think that will remain the same.
What's your thoughts and feelings about John Suter being linked with is it Ike or is it
No,
some
Trans Osborne in Turkey.
oh aye, some Turkish market.
To be honest, if you don't sign a new deal, if we're not going to offer him a new deal, I think we need to move him on. The problem is, at the moment for these games, he's got to play. Like, I don't think he's a bad player. I think again, John Suter's been done a little bit harsh by us in time because I think we've always filled the defence next to him with absolute crap, as we've seen with the signing of Robin Propper last season, Ben Davis, who we're desperately trying to move on. I just don't think he's ever had a real solid enough partner. But we have seen too many mistakes. I do caveat that. We've seen too many mistakes over the last couple of years by John Suter in big games. Even looking at the Atletico, the penalty giveaway was just a complete and utter head. What are you doing? And I've seen that a bit too many times. And I've been a big fan of Suter. So I just think that it gets to the point now where I think you've got a year left. I'm sick of seeing players leave this football club for nothing. If a decent bid comes in and we can get a replacement, and if that is Cody coming in first and then Suter goes, to be honest, I wouldn't mind that. But if we're just looking at these games, he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's probably he's the most reliable centre half we have right now. But I don't think he's a long-term answer to be that experienced head. I think we do need better if we want somebody, similar age or maybe even older for the next 2-3 years to help develop the players around them and just get back into that cycle of what we had really well under Walter Smith. Well, like under David Weir, will be a new partner like if you Quella first in Bagheera, and then Bagheera would become that experienced centre half like. Suter's not the man to kickstart that, I'm afraid. So, he might get us by this season, but again, do we want to just let him go for nothing at the end of next year? I agree, we don't. We need to stop doing that. Into the midfield, Rothwell, Ration, and Diomande for me. I like the idea of it. I do have a question mark over Ration, what his best position is. I think last season he played better as a 6, but he's not quite what he's not quite the player I wanted. Six, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it. Like, so everything I've seen says he's better there, but I feel that's not his position.
I don't. I just, yeah, I think he's an 8, Colin. I think you've seen when Barry Ferguson come in the door, pushed him on a little bit further. Look at the numbers he got, sort of the goal involvements, goals, assists, and then even the build from the build up. He was higher on the pitch. I think as a 6, he's very good at getting the ball back, and I think in the Europa League last season he had one of the highest sort of ball retrievals. The problem I've got with Raskin is his first pass when he wins it back from deep. I think he gives the ball away too much. And if you're going to have a number 6 for us, that especially in this Martin team, you need to be able to keep the ball moving, and your pass rate needs to be very, very high. And I think the same as Diamandi. I think they're both box to box midfielders and playing high. I think that's when you'd see them better. You've seen the finish by Diamandi the other day in the friendly, by the way. If you can get him in the right areas, he can affect it. And I'd say that with Raskin as well. I just think it all depends on that 6 helping them. I personally, from what I've seen, sort of under Clement as a 6, and then Barry Ferguson as an 8, I'd much rather that Raskin a little bit further forward.
It's an interesting point you say about that first pass. I agree. And it's almost like he gets too excited. He sees it's on, and instead of composing himself, he's just, I need to get this away. And yeah, it's just, he gets a bit. So I don't know if that will come just with experience, or
Maybe.
is he better in the heat of the moment and further forward suits him better? But I do think it's a good point.
I also think you've seen him in the Old Firm games run the midfield, and I'd argue with anyone, the last 3 Old Firm games, he has run the midfield. Like going and being aggressive and being on the front foot, not sitting in front of the back four. So I think that for me is his best. And I see it a lot. I say that about the first pass, Colin, because we do it a lot. If last season we win the ball back, and that next pass, it's we're trying to hit something that you just need someone in there to kind of settle it. And I'm really hoping Rothwell can do that. He done it last season for Leeds, so let's wait and see.
So no objections to the midfield 3 for Tuesday then?
No, I think that's the best we've got, and I think that's solid. I think that's solid.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the strongest area for me.
So let's get the old debating points out then, because it's went too swimmingly so far in this first 11. Obviously, I'm assuming Asgard is still going to be out, just because it is the Rangers' way that we will get an injured player as soon as they signed. I do think Danilo will lead the line. I don't know whether it'll be as number 10s or as wingers, but I think the 2 behind them or supporting them will be Kieran Dowell and Oscar Cortez. I'm not saying I'm overly happy with that front 3, but I do think that's what it's going to be, just based on the game time we've got, who's got game time during pre-season, and the options we have. What's your thoughts?
I think that will be it. I would put in Gassama for Dowell. I don't think he will. I'll caveat that, but I would play Gassama instead of Dowell, just because I can't watch Kieran Dowell any longer.
I wonder. People keep on talking about players like getting new lease of life under different managers, and the only recent examples really Ryan Jack under Steven Gerrard. I can't really think of anything else. Russell Martin played with Kieran Dowell. He spoke about him being one of the senior players. Is this potentially this mythical scenario where this player just needs a new manager?
I don't see it, Colin. I think you get that with young players, and you make a good point there about Ryan Jack, but I think Ryan Jack did show under the before Gerrard coming, he did show glimpses. Now, he had a lot of red cards in the aggression side of it, and his discipline needed sorted, but there was signs of Ryan Jack being a really good player. I'm not seeing that at all from Kieran Dowell and his age, and even at Norwich, Colin, he was a bit of a squad player down there anyway. Now, I can understand Martin sort of naming, just reeling them off there as a leadership group at the moment, doesn't mean that he's going to be the leadership group come the end of August. I think he's okay on the ball at times. It's off the ball, he's just non-existent. And the way that Martin wants to play, that ain't gonna shift. Personally, I don't see it. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be here in a year's time. We've just won the league, and Dowell has played a big part. I'd say I'd hold my hands up, but I just can't see it. We've been bitten too many times in the past, saying this one's going to do it under a new manager, and there's been no evidence. So, not for me.
Do you know Kieran Dowell was only 27?
Is he really?
Aye. I thought he was pushing 30. I've just checked him there because, I was looking for how much game time he's got. That you're right. I think you can see if we're being absolutely fair, he is composed on the ball. He is.
He's got a good left foot.
Yeah. Does he have the physicality? Does he have the athleticism? Does he have the drive to do it off the ball? And it's everything you hear, Russell Martin does want to be very aggressive in the press and build that athleticism around the team. Now, not every player has to do that. There will be what we call luxury players. While Kieran Dowell's good on the ball, he's nowhere near a maverick like Todd Cantwell, for example. He's not good enough to be a luxury player where we can carry it off the ball, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I do hope that he proves us wrong and does really well. 5 goals, 5 assists in 23 games for Birmingham last year. That's almost 1 contribution every 2.
See, the thing is with that, Colin, League One, fair enough, that's one thing. I just think the shirt's too heavy for us.
Yeah.
I just think I looked at him for us, and I just remember he just going to a shell. Players just going to a shell. We've seen it so many times over the years with players we've signed. There probably is a player there for someone like Birmingham, no disrespect, but for us, talking about Europe as well, that level up. I don't see it.
You sounded so defeated there. The more you spoke quietly, you're I can just see Kieran, the conversation of Kieran Dowell oozing the life out of you, and I don't blame you. So I think that's a good time to wrap up. I will ask you for your prediction, but just before we do, a massive thank you to everybody who's watched this morning. Obviously, we'll be back with the live streams this week, previewing the game and discussing what happens afterwards on Thursday. But if you can give us a like, subscribe, let us know in your comments. We've got through a fair few talking points there. So let us know what you think in the comments. Be good to see your thoughts. But Mason, amazing chatting to you again, mate. Really enjoyed that. So give us your parting farewell to the listeners and your prediction for Tuesday night.
No, thanks so much for having us back on, mate. It's been great. It's been great to be back on. I think 2-0 will win. Kieran Dowell double. No. I'll put money on that now. I'm going to go 2-0 win. Goal scorer, I don't know where the goals are coming from. Maybe set pieces with Jigger, but I think it's really important that we get up, without saying the obvious, but we take at least a 2-0 lead over there. So that's what I'll be hoping for, and that's what I'm going to go for.
2-1. I don't see us being... history tells me that we won't be switched on enough at the back, and it will really take a bit of time for these new players to come in and settle. So I do see maybe a defensive lapse. I hope I'm wrong, but I do think we've always, getting goals has never been our issue. It's just how consistently we do it and doing it at the right times, not waiting until we're 2-0 down to start scoring. So I'm going to go 2-1, and I'm still happy to take that into Greece. Yeah, so here's hoping one of us is right, because both will be a decent result. But until next time, folks, have a cracking weekend and hope your team wins on Tuesday.